So, good day everyone. Our topic is correlation. Objectives. After completing this chapter, you should be able to draw a scatter plot for a set of ordered pairs. Second, compute the correlation coefficient. Third, test the hypothesis HORO. Fourth, compute the coefficient of determination. Fifth, compute the standard error of the statement. Introduction. In Chapter 7 and 8, two areas of interval statistic, confidence interval, and hypothesis testing were explained. Another area of inferential statistics involved determining whether a relationship exists between two or more numerical or quantitative variables. For example, a business person may want to know whether the volume of sales for a given month is related to the amount of advertising the firm does that the month. Educators are interested in determining whether the number of hours a student studies is related to the student score on a particular exam. Medical researchers are interested in questions such as, is coefficient related to the heart damage? Or is there a relation between a person's age and his or her blood pressure? A geologist may want to know whether the birth weight of a certain animal is related to its lifespan. These are only a few of the many questions that can be answered by using the techniques of correlation analysis. Correlation is a statistical method used to determine whether a linear relationship between variables exists. Scatter plots and correlation. In simple correlation and regression studies, the researcher collect data on two numerical or quantitative variables to see whether a relationship exists between the variables. For example, if a researcher wishes to see whether there is a relationship between number of hours of study and test score on an exam, she must select a random sample of students, determine the hours each studies, and obtain their grades on the exam. A table can be made for the data is as shown here. So sa student A, na siya 6 hours of study, then iyang grade is 82%. Then sa student B, na siya 2 hours of study, then na siya grade 60, 63%. Then sa student C, na siya 1 hour, then iyang grade is 57%. Sa student D, na siya 5 hours of study, then na siya 88%. Then sa student A, na siya 2 hours of study, then na siya 68% na grade. Then sa student F, na siya 3 hours of study, then iyang grado is 75%. As stated previously, the two variables for this study are called the independent variable. The independent variable is the variable in regression that can be controlled or manipulated. In this case, the number of hours of study is the independent variable and is designated as the x variable. The dependent variable is the variable in regression that cannot be controlled or manipulated. Also, you assume that to some extent the student can regulate or control the number of hours he or she studies for the exam. The independent and dependent variable can be plotted on a graph called a scatter plot. The independent variable x is plotted on the horizontal axis, and the dependent variable y is plotted on the vertical axis. The plot is a visual way to describe the nature of the relationship between the independent and dependent variable. The scales of the variables can be different, and the coordinates of the axis are determined by the smallest and largest. So data values of the variables. The procedure for drawing a scatter plot is shown in car rental companies. Construct a scatter plot for the data shown for car rental companies in the United States of a recent year. So, sa company A, na siya 63 cars, then iyang revenue is 7 billion. Then sa company B, na siya 29 cars, then na siya 3.9 billion. Then sa company C, na siya 20.8 cars, na siya revenue 2.1 billion. Then sa company D na siya 19.1 nga cars, then iyang revenue is 2.8 billion. Sa company A na siya 13.4 cars, then na siya revenue 1.4. Sa company F na siya 8.5 nga cars, then iyang revenue is 1.5. Solution. Step 1, draw and label the x and y axis. Step 2, plot each point of the graph. Absences and final grades. Construct a scatter plot for the data obtained in a study on the number of absences and the final grades of 7 randomly selected students for a statistics class. The data are shown here. So, sa student A, na siya 6 ka-absences, then yung final grade is 82%. Sa student B, na siya 2 absences, then iyang final grade is 86%. Sa student C, na siya 15 absences, iyang grade is 43%. Sa student D, na siya 9 absences, then iyang final grade is 74. Student A, na siya 12 absences, sa iyang final grade is 58%. Student F, na siya 5 absences, 98 final grade. 90% final grade. Student J, na siya 8 absences, then iyang final grade is 78%. Solution. Step 1, draw a label the x and y axis. Step 2, plot each point on the graph.